Centralizing, buying time, killing people that's in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slide, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Okay, welcome to the show. This is Game On with your host, Ron Stevens, and we are on ucy.tv, and I'm glad to be here once again. Today is June the 21st. It is the first day of summer, and I don't know where you are, but where I am, it is still particularly cool, even though the Weather Channel said that we had the warmest spring or the warmest May since whenever. Now, I brought that up. We were at a family gathering last night, and I brought that up, and there's a lot of farmers and that there, and they're going, say what? The warmest May? We've been freezing to death. Crops aren't going that good. So, it's always propaganda, always propaganda. What you see with your eyes and what you know to be true, the media tells you the opposite, and you're supposed to believe it. So that's kind of where we are. And anyways, I want to make an announcement. Next Saturday night, I also do a show on Revolution Radio, Saturday nights from 10 to midnight. And next week, next Saturday night, I'm very happy to announce this. We're going to have a very good friend, an incredible researcher, a man who has done some phenomenal work over the years. Kind of got ticked off after years of hard work. As he describes, I'm tired of having people throw stones at me for simply trying to tell them the truth. And that's unfortunate because a lot of good researchers in the past have ended up in the same position. Worked so hard, so long, trying to bring the truth to people, only to be called out, called down, centered out, sidelined, if you will. It's very difficult for people to do that. But so Doug, when he backed out of this, he used to put on conferences and stuff and show films and whatnot, and went through the same thing that a lot of people go through, and that is, he would try to find like-minded people, and he ended up joining these groups, be it political parties or the Council of Canadians or other such groups, only to find out that when he started to ask hard questions, that he would be sidelined. Um, and then he would go and do the research and find out that the group that he was involved in was actually a mouthpiece for the other side, the deceivers, the controlled opposition groups. So he had to go through that whole process, and when he came out the other side, he was a much wiser man, understood exactly what we were up against. And it'll be 3 years ago this fall, they moved out to an old farm, and they went off grid and learned how to grow their food, grow their animals, and such. So he's been very busy with that, but I always encourage him never to stop doing his research, because as sad as it seemed at the time, men and women like Doug and many others I know who have become kind of put off by the lack of participation by the general public and their absolute refusal to take a serious look at their life, which has really been a constructed life by someone else. So he's kept his research going, and I've encouraged him to come back to work. I told him that things are changing. People are starting to step forward. People are starting to accept reality. And so he was gracious enough to agree to come on next Saturday night on Revolution Radio. I'd love to have him on here, but the way his work schedule is, that's not going to likely happen. So again, next Saturday night on my other show, Candle Live, aka Rebel Rooster, Doug is going to come on for 2 hours, and on that 2 hours he is going to discuss the Roman Empire, of which I don't know anyone else is more versed in that subject. And the old story is all roads lead to Rome. They always did, and they still do. And we have to break that tie somehow, or we're all in a great deal of trouble. And it's just going to get worse for us. And I'm not talking about the radio show hosts and the research. I'm talking about the general public. It's going to get much, much worse. So if you have the time next Saturday night, please tune into that show. You'll be glad you did. Now, I had some requests to talk about Bill C-51, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Bill C-51. It's just another bill. People are concerned. They've been protesting. They've been writing letters to their elected officials. They've been waving placards, stop Bill C-51, stop the Harper regime, and so on and so forth. And this just tells me that those people that are doing that aren't very well informed yet. But it has nothing to do with the Harper regime, if that's what you want to call it. If it was the NDP or the Liberals or the Green Party or any other party in this country that had a chance of gaining so-called power, you would still have Bill C-51. Okay? Your government officials are puppets, and I don't care what country on this planet you're in. You are subject to that country, which is a corporation. All of these countries are still working in the feudal system, and you are a subject of. Okay. Now, in our case here in Canada, we're a realm of Britain. We used to be a dominion, then we were changed to a realm. Dominion and realm mean the same thing. Citizen and subject mean the same thing. Okay, so absolutely nothing's changed. They've rebranded it a few times. They've changed the wording a few times, but the fact of the matter remains that we are subject of the crown. Okay? And we are in the feudal system. We have never left it. It's been rebranded, but it's the same system. Everything rises up to the crown. Our politicians are below the crown. The Queen is the head of state. The Prime Minister is the head of government. The Privy Council, which contains, and it's a life appointment, and it contains all the past prime ministers who are still alive. and the cabinet members, as a general rule, chief justices. These people all take an oath, a life oath, for their life appointment in the Privy Council to the Queen. And that oath is an oath of secrecy to the Queen and the Crown, never to divulge what these people actually are and what they're up to. So it's a hell of a good gag order on any of these past participants in the so-called government. So Bill C-51 is just part of the template. It's no different than the terrorism bill that was passed in the United States. It's just a template, maybe reworded a little bit, but it's a system to lock you down. And we are really enemies of the state. It is a company is a military situation. And I'll go into that a little bit more because I want to talk about Pope Francis here a little bit as we go into this. But Bill C-51, it has been passed. It is what it is, and it's sold to the public as a terrorism bill to help stop terrorism. Well, what it actually is, because everything is upside down all the time, what it actually is not a bill to stop terrorism or save us from terrorists. It is a bill to protect the terrorists, okay? And the terrorists are the ones in your halls of government. Period. The terrorists is the Crown. The terrorists are the Vatican. Okay? So they bring this terrorism bill out, a couple of reasons. One, if they decide to have an event, a bombing or a disruption or whatever, they peg that as terrorism. Most of these things are pre-concocted and set up to hoodwink the public some more, that we have terrorists running around. Well, if you think about Canada, I mean, where are we getting these terrorists from? Okay, the only way we have a terrorist here is it was an imported terrorist or concocted terrorist. You may have a husband or a woman or a man who have had their children lifted by child services, who have torn their families apart, who have had the mortgage company breathing down their neck, who have had their lives destroyed by this so-called government that's supposed to be looking out for them. They've been terrorized. Now, they're hoping that some of these people go off the deep end and pick up a gun and start shooting at people or at the police or whoever. Okay, and then they will qualify that person as a domestic terrorist, likely. Okay, but the real terrorists are the ones that tore that family apart and put those poor people in the situation where they saw no hope for the future. Those are the terrorists. So the terrorists are your government, and the terrorist bill, Bill C-51 or whatever bill has been passed anywhere else in any other so-called country. These terrorism bills are passed to protect the terrorists, those terrorizing you. Okay, and that is your local government, your state government, and your federal governments. And that's just the way it is, folks. That's just the way it is. So all of this protesting and writing letters is just an indication to me that either these things are all pre-concocted again to draw people in, to keep them hoodwinked, or the people doing it are completely uninformed and have a serious lack of knowledge. because if they were knowledgeable people, they wouldn't be doing this. You're not going to stop a government from passing a bill like this or any other bill they wish to pass by writing letters to them and bouncing around on the street with the little protest signs. You know, stop nuclear waste storage here. Well, that's not going to stop anything. Stop Bill C-51. That's not going to stop anything. You know, get the pedophiles out of the school system. That's not going to stop anything. Okay? Because the terrorists are running the show. So you have to turn this around so that you see what's actually in front of your face. Very, very important. Very important. So Bill C-51 is what it is, and we have more important work to do than worry about Bill C-51. So I'm going to get into the Pope here a little bit, and then I'm going to open up the phone lines after, because this Pope Francis guy, this Pope Francis guy is really not Pope Francis at all. He just took the name. But the beauty of Pope Francis is that this latest thing with the Vatican coming out, wanting to save Mother Earth, and, a proponent of man-made climate change, or global warming, if you will, just shows that they're showing all their cards now. So there can be no mistake here as to what's actually going on. And the Pope has appointed a gentleman as a scientific advisor or whatever, who says that the population of the Earth can't be more than 1 billion, or needs to be less than 1 billion. Now, this is the same crap that's been coming out of the climate change groups and the Save Mother Earth groups for a very, very long time. So now we know that the Vatican, or the Pope, is a major player in this deception that's going on. Yeah, global psyop is what's going on. Yeah, and I've always said, for as long as I can remember, that we are at war, okay, here in the West and across the world. But here, more so than anywhere else, we are in a psychological war. Okay, the other countries are in bombing wars. We're in a psychological war, and that goes back to Warburg at the 50 Senate hearings, where he stated that we will have world government by consent or by conquest. So what they have over here with the propaganda here is that they are coercing us into consent, because bombing here is really not going to fly so good, be a hard sell. So they're getting us to consent through all this environmental nonsense, that the planet's in dire straits and so on and so forth. So they got kids in the schools, they got groups all over every town, every city, across the world, planting trees and making bike paths and watershed projects and all this kind of thing, and suck them into believing that they're actually doing something positive for the planet. All they're doing is hoodwinking themselves and being led astray. And while they're busy planting a tree, they don't see the big picture. So, yeah, it's definitely a psychological war we're in. And we somehow have to use the same tools that they have, which is psychology, to overcome them, because silence is consent. And so far, the people have been completely silent. And that's got to change. We have to get the big no going. You know, we're on to you, and the answer is no, we ain't going there. And we need to shine the light constantly on all government officials and call them out. We don't have to write letters to them. Oh, please, please, please don't institute Bill C-51. How about a letter? Hey, Jack, we know who you are. We know what you're up to. You know you don't represent us. Okay? We're very aware of that. The elections are a complete fraud. And you take an oath to the Queen of loyalty to the Queen, crown, and not to us. And the old maxim is you can't be beholden to two masters. Therefore, it is impossible for anything you do in the so-called government to be to our benefit. It is always to the benefit of the crown, because that's who you took your oath of loyalty to. Now, these are the kinds of letters that got to start flooding every level of government and the bureaucracy and the school board. Okay? We get it. Okay? And we're shining the light on your fraud. Okay? And we have to get in their faces. If you're writing letters, you know, I'm not pleased with what you're teaching my child in the school, you'll probably get a letter back. Well, you know, we're just a school board and legislation was passed and said this is the curriculum and this is what we got to teach. So there's really nothing we can do about it. And why don't you be a good parent, go home, watch TV, eat a piece of pizza, shut up and don't bother us anymore. Kind of stuff is what you get. And then people write the letter and say, well, they didn't answer my letter at all. Well, of course they didn't answer your letter, because your letter is really nonsensical. Your letter is coming from someone that doesn't understand what's going on. So why would you expect an intelligent letter back from any of these people? You got to start firing the letters out. We get it. We know what you're up to. We don't like it. We ain't putting up with it, and shine the light on them. Okay? They only get away with this stuff as long as we let them get away with it. This idea of, and I can't stress this enough, should you be armed? Absolutely. But don't pull the trigger. Okay, that's exactly what they want you to do. And people do these things out of ignorance. Okay, they've been hammered into the ground. They've had their children taken. They've had their jobs taken. They've had their houses taken. They've had their families destroyed, their societies destroyed. And they don't know what to do. And out of frustration, sometimes somebody picks up a gun and lets loose with it. But they've done that out of ignorance. Because if they really got it, they would go about things a whole lot differently. And that's exactly what we need to do. We are in a psychological war. If you have anybody, if you're talking to anybody, or you're listening to one of these online shows, the internet, the alternative media shows, that is yapping about right or left, or the conservatives suck, or the liberals suck, or the Democrats suck, or the Republicans suck, or whatever they call your main parties in whatever land you live in, call them out. If you're listening to these people, then you are either remaining in a position of total ignorance, or the host that's spewing this garbage to you is ignorant, or he's a player, or she's a player. Shine the light on those people as well. I mean, history's pretty easy to look at. The fraudulent construct that they call government is pretty easy to figure out. So if you have somebody out there spewing off about this politician or that politician is a jackass, or we should have voted them out, or we should vote them out, and this is our new savior. This man or woman is going to save our bacon for us. Again, that person that's saying that is either completely ignorant and shouldn't be listened to, because ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance will get your butt in trouble. So cut them off. And or you can explain to them that you seem a little confused, and if they defend their position, then you know exactly that you're listening to an ignorant person or a player. Either way, it doesn't matter. Shut it off. There's only so many hours in a day, and you got to use that power and that time in as positive a manner as you can. And you need to get in the faces of these people. If you're going to write a letter or you're going to put up a protest sign, at least be knowledgeable about what you're doing. Okay, call them out. Instead of a sign saying, don't dump your nuclear waste here, or stop Bill C-51, or whatever it is that's bothering people at the time, because this stuff just keeps coming at you. Okay, and people will protest this for a while until the new thing to come to protest comes along, and then they'll forget about what they were protesting, protest the new thing until a new thing comes along. It is all set up for you. Okay, so we just have this repetition of waste of time. If you're going to make a sign, we get it. Okay? We get the fraud that you have constructed. And we ain't putting up with it. No more. Now, if you're going to do signs along that vein. And then maybe we will put the fear of the people into them. Because remember, there's a hell of a lot more of us than there are of them. When you got a cop giving a kid selling lemonade a ticket, we got a problem. When we got the police running around shooting homeless people, we got a problem. When we have the school board and the teachers teaching your little children about sex in grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these people are thieving, stealing your child's childhood from them. Why do you put up with that crap? Get in their face. Get big time in their face. And this idea of, I don't want to get in trouble. Trust me, folks, you are in trouble. You are in deep, 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 deep trouble. We went to a bit of a dinner last night, kind of a barbecue thing, and there was some people, family members and that there, some grandmothers. Hell, I'm so old now, it seems everybody's a grandmother, grandfather. But a conversation came up about, I brought up the fact that our local school here, the kids can't play baseball because they can't have a bat at school, because a bat has been designated a weapon. A baseball bat has been designated a weapon. What used to be a baseball bat that you would pick up and take out and have a game of ball is now a weapon. And therefore the kids at that school can't play ball anymore. And somebody brought up the fact it was a grade 8 grad party, or the grade 8s graduated, and one of the folks there, grandson, was going to ask the girl to the graduation deal, but was informed by the school, get this, was informed by the school that the school would decide who's going with who. In other words, the school has put themselves in charge of pairing up the male and female students. And the parents and the grandparents, well, this is crazy. Well, yeah, it is crazy, but what are you doing about it? When you have this school that has that much influence over your children, and that the school is going to decide who your son and daughter attends the grad party with, the school decides this, we got a huge problem on our hands. But the parents and the grandparents, they don't seem they're upset about it, but they don't seem to have any capacity to understand exactly what they just said. They just, well, we're not really happy with this at all. Can you believe they do this? Well, of course they do it because you're consenting to it because you are silent, and we will have a world government by consent or by conquest. So far, the consent side's working pretty good for them, isn't it? And this all has to get changed around. I mean, the students, have been hammered into the ground. I mean, what has happened here when I was a kid in school, and when I first went to high school, this was back in the 70s, in the early 70s, and that's when we started. They had all the drug propaganda going out. Like. What was that old reefer madness and shit, freaking everybody out about weed and that. And then next thing we know, we got police in the schools opening lockers and that, looking for this devil drug or whatever. And we just vacated the school. And we just simply told them, what the hell's going on here? This is our school, our school. And these clowns are not coming into our school sniffing around in people's private lockers. Ain't going to happen. And the administration of the school is going, well, it's all this drugs and stuff now. Oh, it's going to destroy everything. And we just vacated the school. We had to do it a couple of times. And then finally, we came to an agreement that the police would not be coming into the school. And we got in their faces over it. Now we have at my high school here, and I think all of the schools, we have police. Ours is a fairly small high school, probably 350 students or so, and maybe a few more. But every hour that school is in session, there's an armed policeman there. I live in a town of 7,000 people out in the countryside. But here we have an armed policeman there all the time. And somebody told me that another researcher I was talking to, and I can't verify it because I haven't had time to do it, but he said that some of the schools now are actually doing pat downs before the students are even allowed in the schools. What's it, people? What the hell's it take? You got your kid going to school and you got an armed guard at the school. Papers, please. Something's wrong, bad wrong. And we're giving these people way too easy a ride. Okay? They're just pulling out the stops now. So now we got this Pope Francis, who is not Pope Francis. He just picked the name. Okay? The guy's a Jesuit. And that doesn't bode well. But I mean, this guy, Pope Francis here, now this is out of my communist broadcasting corporation, the CBC News here in Canada. Can Pope Francis' street creed shift the climate change debate? Pontiff's pronouncement links ecological concerns to social justice in no uncertain terms. Okay, so anybody that's still, I don't care what background you are, whether you're Catholic or not Catholic or anything else, it doesn't matter. Okay, they've put their cards on the table. Pope Francis has issued an unexpectedly strong call for action against climate change, saying the crisis is man-made and must be fixed, and its timing may be almost as important as the message itself. What did the Club of Rome say in the First Global Revolution book? Okay, we came up with the idea of using things like pollution and climate change and yada, yada, yada. We did. We came up with the idea. Okay, I wasn't scientists, and the scientists are nothing more than the new priests, the new ecological priests. So they came up with the idea. And they also said, and then I'm paraphrasing, is that therefore humanity itself is the enemy. Okay, now get that. Humanity itself is the enemy. That would be you. Okay, that would be you is the enemy. You are the enemy of these sick psychopaths, using sociology in that to get you to believe they're nonsense. But make no mistake, you're the enemy. Now, what are you going to do with an enemy? You're going to destroy the enemy. Because if you don't destroy the enemy will destroy you. Okay? So we are at war. Pick a side. We win simply out of sheer numbers, if we can bring the numbers forward. And they will not win because of their power. They will win because of our ignorance. And it's their propaganda that has made us ignorant. Okay, they've kept the knowledge from the people. Knowledge is power. You don't have any knowledge, you don't have any power. That's what this show and the other shows are about, is to get you some knowledge, or encourage you to go get some knowledge. Start reading. Turn off the damn yap box and the radios and quit picking up the media. Anyways, the Pope's message, unforgiving and far from uplifting, comes as world leaders are to gather in Paris later this year to try to finally hammer out an international accord on climate change, and as U.S. presidential hopefuls are gearing up their bids for the 2016 election. Now, we have an election coming up this fall here, a federal election here, and you guys have one next year, okay? And these guys have put all of their cards on the table now. You are the enemy, period. Now, it's all about keeping the earth in balance. They keep saying we have finite resources and the population is too big. Now, it doesn't take a real Einstein to figure that out, does it? You know, the film, and I will continue to encourage everyone to go watch this film, because this is a film created, written, directed, and acted in by a group of psychopaths. Rockefeller's in it, Morris Strong's in it. We have some so-called scientists in it. We have Margaret Mead in it. We have Barbara Ward in it, and so on and so forth. And this film came out in 1972 and is called Survival of Spaceship Earth, because these people are all space cadets. And it came out just prior to the 72 Stockholm Conference on Human Environment, okay, which made you the enemy. You've been the enemy ever since. But in that film, it is all about depopulation, about keeping the earth in balance. Margaret Mead is in there talking about the same thing. Finite resources, too much population. At that time, she said there was 5 billion people on the planet, and the earth is out of balance. Okay, so that's where your vaccines come in. That's where your Planned Parenthood comes in. That's where the abortion business comes in. Okay, to reduce population. We have to get it back in balance. So you have now, they say, and I don't trust any of their data, and I don't know why anybody would. It's their data. They came up with it, and they use it to propagandize us, so I don't really trust it. But now they say there's 7 billion on the planet. Well, if the planet was out of balance with 5 billion, it must be, oh, what's that word? The tipping point was 7 billion. Okay. Now, the guy that, the Pope, whose real name is not Francis, has look at this clown, man. Take a look at this guy. Now, if this isn't a freaking Nazi, I don't know what is. I may have spoke out of turn on that one. But I don't even think I can work this. It's not letting me post in this chat here. It wants me to log in. I don't have a login name. I don't have time to do it. So we're not going to do it. I'll get that worked out for next week. Where did that get to? Okay, so Schellenhuber appointed to Pontifical Academy of Science. This is June 17th. This is 4 freaking days ago. Okay, this clown. Now, see, they reworked the wording here. According to this guy, if we don't hold the climate to 2-degree increase or less, then it will have a devastating effect on the population. And it could wipe out 6 billion people. Okay, so if we let that temperature go to 4 degrees or something, mass amounts of population will be wiped off the planet. Well, this isn't true, of course. They've just rebranded this again, okay? Because we got to go back to the original. The Earth is out of balance. It didn't have anything to do with the temperature then in 72. What it had to do, there's too many people on the planet for the resources, and the planet's out of balance. So they've just flipped it again. If the temperature rises, a whole bunch of people are going to die. The temperature doesn't matter. The plan is they're going to kill a whole bunch of people to keep in their minds the planet in balance. Now, one of the reasons they've gotten to the point where they can dump a pile of population is because of technology. Now, I don't have anything against technology. I'm using technology today. I wouldn't be able to talk to you without this technology. But they've built a system in which the machines and the technologies can take over most of what we used to do. And therefore, you're not necessary anymore. Okay? You're just simply not necessary. Most of the jobs in the West now have nothing to do with making anything. It's just a temporary thing here where you're pushing paper around. Okay? Till they get to the point where they can start dropping the population massively. There's no purpose for you anymore, according to them. You're one of those useful eaters. You're eating up the resources of the planet. And we don't like that because, of course, you are the enemy. You are the enemy of them, and you are, according to them, enemy of the planet. And therefore, something must be done with you. Anyways, he has made calls for an Earth constitution that would transcend the UN Charter and the global council comprised of members elected by everyone on Earth. He has also suggested creation of a planetary court, a transnational legal body open to appeals from everybody, especially with respect to violations of the Earth Constitution. Now, most people think religion is about respect for the Creator and to follow the laws set down by the Creator. Religion is not about that at all, and never has been. It's a control system, okay? And now, instead of doing the bidding of the Creator, instead of worshiping the Creator, if you will, you are now worshiping the creation. Okay? And if you hurt the creation, well, you're going to an international court somewhere. And I don't think it'll work out well for you because there's too many of you. Okay? Anyways, the Pontifical Academy of Science was established in 1603 and consists of 80 academicians chosen among the world's leading scientists and appointed by the Pope. The mission of the Academy is to pay honor to pure science wherever it is found, to assure its freedom, and to promote its research. The Academy organized a global warming summit at the Vatican in April, which invited 2 United Nations leaders to address the conference, Secretary General Moon and Harvard economist Jeffrey Sachs, UN Special Advisor on Millennium Development Goals. Both men have promoted population control via greater access to contraceptives and abortions. Okay, so who's the enemy? Man is the enemy. But look up this guy, this Schellnhuber, Schellnhuber. Take a look at, go look at some pictures of this guy. And then go look at some pictures of the SS and that. Go look at the picture of Hitler. The Pope, the Vatican is involved with Stalin, Mussolini, Hitler. Okay? These are not nice people. Not nice people at all. Now, when I'm looking up Pope Francis here, Bergoglio, the real name, he worked briefly as a chemical technician, born in Buenos Aires, Argentina. He worked briefly as a chemical technician and a nightclub bouncer. This is your Pope. Before beginning seminary studies. He was ordained as a Catholic priest in 1969, and from 1973 to 1979 was Argentina's provincial superior of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits. Now, if we go over here to the Jesuits, let's see, the society is engaged in evangelism and ministry in 112 nations, 6 continents. Jesuits work in education, founding schools, colleges, universities, seminaries, intellectual research, and cultural pursuits. Jesuits also give retreats, minister in hospitals and parishes, and promote, ready for this? Social justice. Okay? And what is the UN promoting? Social justice. What is a social injustice? Private property. And that comes from the 76 conference on human settlements in Vancouver. And that all property must be held in public. because private property is a form of social injustice, meaning simply that if you own property, you can benefit from it, and if I don't, I can't, and therefore that gives you a leg up on me. Let's forget about all the hard work you did to get yourself in a position to have property, which is phony anyways, but that's another topic. But all property must be held in public, okay, is where they're going. And it's not really in public, it's actually in private, okay, because those who will rule the world will take control of all property and then divvy out your benefits from it, if you will. The Society of Jesus is concentrated under the patronage of Madonna. Isn't there a singer called Madonna? Odd. But in here, it says that Jesuits are sometimes referred to as God's soldiers, God's Marines, or, I like this, or the company. Okay? We are under military rule. Make no mistake about it. The company rules us. And we are enemies of the state. We are enemies of the planet, according to these people. And they're coming after us now. And we're going to sit back and allow them to do their bidding, or we're going to stop them. And if we don't stop them, we can't blame them. Okay, understand that very clearly. We can't blame them. Now, I watched the show, or the movie. I watch this thing about once a year or something, because I find it a good place to reflect. Each time you watch something, as you do more research and you become more knowledgeable, you go back and look at something that you'd seen before and see if you can see it with different eyes. But the movie I like to go back and watch every now and again is Metropolis. And I watched it the other night, and then I found an interview of Lang from '74 talking about, how he had a meeting with Goebbels, who had decided they wanted him to be in charge of the movie-making propaganda for Germany. And according to Lang, he explained to Goebbels that and the Ministry of Propaganda, or the Minister of Propaganda, that there might be a problem here, because while he's in Germany, and I think he was born in Germany, his folks were actually second-generation Jews or something. And he said he was trying to get out of there. That's what he said. He didn't want nothing to do with us. He just wanted to get out of there. And he said during the interview, he kept looking at the clock through the window, hoping to get out of there so that he could get to the bank, get some money out of the bank before the bank closed, so he'd get the hell out of Germany. And according to Lang, Goebbels said, we will decide. We decide who and who is not Aryan. Okay, so it didn't have anything to do with your religion or anything else. It's who we could use to our benefit is who we will deem to be what we want them to be. But when I watched that movie again, I find it absolutely amazing. Even though Lang in that interview said it wasn't a futuristic movie, what a lot of people think it is, it was just a depiction of a dictatorship. And that's exactly what we find ourselves in now. And it's exactly what I said way back in the 70s when I did a bit of research. and that we do not live in a democracy, and you don't want to live in a democracy anywhere, anyways. But I didn't know that at the time, what a democracy really meant. And but I told people here in Canada that we do not live in a democracy. We live in a benevolent dictatorship. And as long as we think we're getting benefits, something for nothing, and it's a real fool that thinks they're getting something from nothing or for nothing, because there's always an attachment to that. Not always. I mean, I have bought homeless people stuff with no attachment to it. I have given people that were hard up a car with no attachments. But for the most part, if it's coming from government, there's an attachment to it. And so these we're in a benevolent dictatorship to keep you pacified. But while you're pacified, they're busy writing all their international agreements and international treaties and forming international law, okay, to hang you with down the road. And what I said then is it's unfortunate because people believe this to be a democracy, not a dictatorship. And but when the benevolence disappears, which is now, and has been for some period of time, people won't know how to react to it. Okay, so we went through this long period of people voting one party in and one party out, and one party in and one party out, and before they came to the realization, and you hear this from people all the time now, I quit voting because it doesn't matter who you vote for, we get the same mess. And they're absolutely correct. Because they all took an oath of loyalty to someone other than the people that voted for them. Okay, so they have an agenda which is not your agenda. So people have to go through that. A lot of people are still going through that otherwise we wouldn't have these nonsensical conversations about this party or that party. We wouldn't be having those conversations still. So people still do vote, although fewer and fewer all the time. And hopefully this election, nobody votes. That would be sending them a message. We get it. Okay, we finally get it. Would be nice. But this is Jesuits are thus sometimes referred to as God's soldiers, God's Marines, or the company. Now, I find this interesting. The society participated in the Counter-Reformation and later in the implementation of the Second Vatican Council in the Catholic Church. Now, the Reformation was set off by Martin Luther back in the 1500s. Now, here's a devoted monk. I mean, if you read the story, this guy was almost wacko devoted monk. And when he finally made his way to Rome and saw what he saw in Rome, it sickened him. It absolutely sickened him. He mentioned like little naked boys jumping out of birthday cakes and all this gold and all this these huge buildings and the richness of it, and how they used syntax basically. You would go and give your confession, and they would say, well, that'll be 4 pieces of silver or gold or whatever, and therefore be on your way. So in that sense, the word company comes back into play again. Okay, you paid a company, and we'll leave you of your sins. So, Martin Luther created a real awakening to the people when he told them that this idea of you having to go through these people to get to God is absolutely nuts. You don't need these people to go to God, right? And so people left the Catholic Church in droves. And the Catholic Church, the Vatican, the Jesuits have worked hard, hard, hard over the centuries to reclaim their power. And they have. And now you have this Pope who is supposed to be a man of God hiring a guy who says that 6 million people are going to get off the planet. Is this the guy you want to follow? It's straight in your face now. You know, you can take all the propaganda that you have sucked up over this climate change. And it started way back. It started in 1950. We will have global government. It started way before 1950. That was really thrown down the gauntlet. We will have world government by consent or by conquest, and it's been propaganda city ever since. And now they're getting pushy, right? They're getting very, very pushy now. They want this done. They want to bury nuclear waste just up the road from me here. We have one of the largest nuclear facilities on the planet here. We have 8 reactors up here, sitting on the edge of Lake Huron, and they want to bury the nuclear waste below ground, right on the edge of the lake. You know, people are complaining about it, obviously. But again, you can complain about it all you want, but you ain't got no say in the matter. They make these decisions globally, They make these decisions globally, and your puppets implement the templates or the agendas. But the same people that are telling you can't drive an automobile, or you can't do this, or you can't do that because it'll harm the environment. These are the same dicks that want to or intend to bury nuclear waste right beside one of the major, if not the biggest, source of fresh water in the world, and that's the Great Lakes system. Now, we have mayors and that from other countries, like the United States, bitching and complaining about this idea of burying nuclear waste right beside the lake. But these same mayors that are complaining about that are pushing bike paths and other things in their own communities. Now, either these mayors are completely stupid, which for the most part they are, or they know exactly what's going on. A few of them do, not that many. Most part, they're just ignorant. So on the one hand, they're fighting against burying nuclear waste beside Lake Huron, and the other side, they are promoting wind turbines and solar panels and bike paths and that, which are all coming out of the same camp. The nuclear waste disposal and the bike path is coming out of the same camp. So we still have this situation where people are not connected to the full story as they should be. We still have way too many people zoning in on a particular item of interest and not seeing the big picture. And it was constructed like that, okay? Order of chaos. Lots of chaos, lots of confusion, lots of infighting amongst people in order for them not to really fully visualize or understand the big plan. So, anyways, I'm not going to spend any more time on the Pope and that today because, like I said, my friend Doug Shapira is going to do a couple hours on this next Saturday night on my other show on Revolution Radio from 10 to midnight, Studio B. And I'm really looking forward to that because, and I think one of the reasons Doug got a hold of me and said, okay, I'll do a show, but I picked a subject. I go, fine, I don't care. And I said, well, what are you talking about? And he said, the Roman Empire. Now, I'm sure that he's seen these stories of who the Pope's appointed at and who the Pope actually is. And he's, he is so well researched on the subject of Rome and the history, which goes way, way back. So it should be a very eye-opening session with Doug. He will not leave any stones unturned. And if you listen to the show next Saturday night, I'm sure you will have a greater knowledge of what exactly we're up against and who our enemy is. Okay? And it is a war, and I'll leave it at that. It's a war because they said it's a war. They called us the enemy. Okay? But they also said our army is 7 billion. They also said they want to get rid of 6 billion of us. Now, there's 7 billion on the planet. If they want to get rid of the enemy, and they're calling the enemy 6 billion, that leaves 1 billion. Now, it doesn't take much of a mathematician to figure out the odds are on our side. We have a much bigger army than they do. All we got to do is raise our army to awareness. And our army doesn't have to shoot at anybody. Our army just has to simply stand and say no. Okay? And then we have to give these people the opportunity to either come on side or be arrested and incarcerated. It's that simple. And these people are chickens, make no mistake about it. They're conniving, deceiving, and they're dangerous, but they really are chickens, okay? Because they've been hiding all this in the background. They know people won't put up with this, but they are convinced now that one of two things is going to happen. Either their propaganda is going to continue to have weight, or it's not. I say propaganda's the shelf life of this particular propaganda is past the due date. And I do believe they think the same thing. So now they're going to push as hard as they possibly can, as fast as they can, to try to bring their life's work to fruition. And if they do, it is going to be highly devastating to the planet. So, what I'd like to do today, okay, is I have a call-in number here of 718-717-8296. And I would like someone to pick up a telephone and make a call. Because I'd like to hear what you think about what's going on. And I'd like to hear what your solutions for it are. Because there are all kinds of solutions that we can use, and we need to get them on the table. We need to get people involved. We need to get people into a position of participation. Listening to radio shows and that is nice, I suppose, but we need to get a plan together here and get the game on, if you will. And I'd like to hear what you are doing in your local community to alert people to what's going on. and what their reaction to it is. I mean, personally, I find the reaction changing, but after last night at that barbecue, and I was really just, I mean, it was fun. It was nice to see these folks. I haven't seen some of them in quite a while. But, I was basically observing the people and what was coming out of their mouths and that. And I found it astounding that, they're saying on the one hand that what's going on is absolutely wrong, but there's nothing else behind it. Like, what are we going to do about this? It's like, oh, well, and that keeps bringing me back to Brzezinski, who said, we will mentally screw you, basically, in 2.5, 3 generations, so you have no capacity left to stand up mentally. And that's what I kind of observed last night. I thought, man, this is scarier than I thought it was. So, we have all these people. The people have been marked for death. And don't think it can't happen. And I'm not fearmonger, right? I plan on winning this. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't plan on winning it. They called us to a fight. We better stand up to it. Everyone on this planet has been threatened, not by climate change, but by those who concocted the fraud in the first place. Okay, so understand who the actual terrorists are. Okay, it is not the man or woman that's been pushed over the brink and has nothing left, and out of frustration picks up a gun and does something incredibly stupid. And the fact is, you can take a perfectly normal man or woman and you can grind on them until you create a situation that they see no way out. And they pick that gun up and do something silly. We don't need this, people. What we need to do is come to the aid of those who are being terrorized by the very people that put these terrorist laws in place for no other reason than to protect them, not you. They know they're the terrorists. They know what their plan is for you. And anybody that threatens them becomes a terrorist. Silly game, actually. But they are chickens. And they will run. I called an Alex Jones show for several years back. And I'd listened to Jones a little bit. It didn't take long for me to ask a simple question. This guy's yammering on. He's been on air for 14 years. And all I hear is fear porn. Where's the solutions? So I called into his show one day, and there was a retired general on his show, which makes no sense whatsoever. Let me see. Alex Jones is out here to save America. And the general, who obviously has taken an oath, probably to the Vatican, is on Alex Jones' show spilling his guts. Not freaking likely. But anyways, I called in and, I said, Alex, I don't see where you're coming up with any solutions here for the amount of time you've been on air. And I said, you want to take the country back? Well, yeah, 1776. You want to buy my newest fruit drink? No, I don't, Alex. But anyways, so he I said, well, the solution is absolutely simple, isn't it? And he goes, how's that? And I said, well, if someone steals something from you, do you not have the right to take it back? That would not be theft. That would be taking back your lawful property. Yes, yeah. Okay, so your country was stolen from you, and it's time to go take it back. Okay, simple as that. So I suggested, pretty simple. You say you got 6 million listeners, and so you need like probably 10,000 people or less, probably a lot less, to simply go and take back what belongs to the people. And it does belong to the people. The people built everything in the country, and I don't care which country you're in. The people built everything that are on your lands. Everything. They built it. They own it. Their feet are on the ground. Possession 90% of the law. The people possess it, not the corporation. The corporation, dead piece of paper, doesn't possess anything. The people possess the lands. The lands belong to the people, and what they built belongs to the people. So simply go take it back. You take a group of people, you walk in the White House, you arrest everybody. Simple. At the same time, you go and you get some technicians, some people capable of being a talking head, and walk in and take over the major networks. And you will find, if you study coups, and this is not a coup, it's a reverse coup, it's taking back what belongs to, it's an anti-thievery move, if you will. You will find, if you study whenever there's a change of government in this method, that the general population really don't care. They really don't care. They just go along to get along. You will find that the armies will always bow down to whoever's holding power at the time. Simply make a declaration. So it doesn't have to be people say, oh, this will be a civil war, this will be a bloodbath. It doesn't even have to. There's no, not at all. So you're done then. You've taken the media. We have just returned America to the people, the rightful owners of the lands. Regular broadcasting will now resume. Ha ha. And that's about it. The people will cheer. We got the country back. It's not like some foreign power came in and took the country. The people took the country back. The people that own the country and everything in it simply took it away from those who stole it, and has made everybody's life a fraudulent misery. Now, Alex Jones goes, well, that won't work. And I go, why won't it work, Alex? Well, it won't work because if we did that, then they'd let off, this is what he actually said, they'll let off truck bombs and that and blame us for it. Say, what? And he also said the media wouldn't cover it. Well, let me see. I told you to go take control of the media. And who's going to let off these said truck bombs? Mr. America. Mr. 1776. Anyways, he says to his guest, this ex-general, I don't remember what his name is, this was some years ago, and he said, General, I got this Canadian on here, says we just go down and walk in the White House and arrest everybody. And I told him that won't work. And the general responded, well, that won't work. And Alex gets all jacked up. He says, I told that Canadian it wouldn't work. You tell him, General, why it won't work. You tell him. Well, it won't work because if we did that when we got there, there wouldn't be anybody there because they would all run away. And that's exactly my point. These people that you bow down to and fear are chicken shits, excuse my language. Thieves and deceivers are chickens. Always have been, always will be. Now, just to put proof on that, way back when, a group came up from America and burnt down the legislative buildings on the West Coast, on Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, where the hell it was, but burnt down our legislative building there. It's not our legislative building, it's the Crown's legislative building, but we believed it was ours, so we'll just stick with that for the time being. And what did we do? In the good old eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, we just simply sent some people down there to burn down the White House. Now, the story goes, the guys that went down there to burn the White House down, they're a little nervous about this because they're expecting some serious resistance to the burning of the White House. But lo and behold, when they got there, and this is weird because I actually read this after I had the conversation with Alex Jones, not before. And when the guys got to the White House, there was nobody there. They'd all run away. So, it's not a problem to run these guys out. And when I say guys, I mean gals too. It's not that difficult. There's 300 and some odd million people in America, and you have this little 10 square mile called Washington, and that little thing there, which isn't even part of America, runs the show. Well, why would that be allowed? Ignorance is that's why it was allowed. Ignorance. Pure and simple ignorance is what allowed that to happen. So as I keep repeating, anything that bad comes our way is certainly not their fault. We consented to it through our silence. We gave them permission to do to us what they've been doing to us for a very, very long time. And it needs to stop. And I am not in any way or shape or form advocating violence. I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm trying to get this done as peacefully as possible. Now, if you're in America, you've seen many times over the years, the big marches down Pennsylvania Avenue, the big protests, the big picketing sessions. But no matter how big that is, the gates at the front of the White House always stop the protesters. Just a gate. Got 500,000 people, 1 million people in the streets. Nobody ever walks in those doors and say, you know what? You're under arrest. Nobody does it. Fear of power. Not realizing that the 1 million people in the streets have the power. But apparently they don't have the knowledge, or they would have walked straight through the front gate. And we wouldn't be in the position we're in now. The West is designed to collapse, and it is, if I use their terms, at the tipping point of collapse. We've allowed all of our industries to be sucked out of our nations. We've watched as the people's livelihoods are being taken from them and have been taken from them. We're watching as families struggle more and more each day. And we still can't seem to put our finger on what the problem is, because we keep listening to the talking heads on the television. Keep listening to the propaganda. Keep discussing the propaganda like there's something there to discuss. Well, I like what this politician said myself. I thought he was very optimistic about our future, and I do believe if we vote for this gentleman or woman, that they themselves can turn this around, and this will be a much better place to live. What kind of load of bunk is that? If you're having these conversations or you're discussing these nonsense that's being discussed on the tube or in the general media, you're in a bad state of ignorance. Now, love him or leave him, I mean, Mr. Jefferson. There's certain things I keep repeating. I guess I'm a propagandist too. Or as George Bush says, we got to keep repeating this stuff. Get the propaganda stuck in your brain. One of the few things Mr. Bush ever said that was true. And I smiled when he said that. I thought that was pretty humorous. Here's a thieving, lying dog who actually told you straight to your face the truth, which was we're just going to keep repeating this propaganda until it sticks in your brain. And he had a smirk on his face when he said that because he knew exactly what he was saying. And the people didn't react to it. That's just another indication we got you. But it was Jefferson, supposedly, who stated that the man who reads nothing at all is better informed than the man who only reads newspapers. That statement holds true today. And basically, all I was saying was that the man that reads nothing at all is not influenced by the propaganda of the media. And therefore, he is more knowledgeable, more informed than that man who only reads a newspaper, because the man who only reads a newspaper has opened his mind to all manner of propaganda and outright lies. And eventually they will sink into his brain. Either he will accept them, or through constant a barrage of this stuff, it osmoses its way into his system. Okay, so we got to get away from that. I find this to be the most interesting time in history, actually. I didn't live in other histories, but when I look at the histories, that we are in really just a most amazing time. A lot of people are fearful about this time. I have no fear about this time, and nor should anybody else have any fear about this time. This time is what it is. It's as simple as that. That is the reality of the time that we live in. The outcome of the time we live in is up to us. And if we don't step up to the plate, the future is going to be damn bleak. So we do it or we don't do it. That's our decision. But we can't blame those who have oppressed us all this time. We cannot possibly blame them, because they could not have oppressed anybody without our consent. So we consented out of ignorance. We didn't have the knowledge. We didn't have the understanding. We didn't have the true histories. Well, now we do. It's readily available. So somebody's going to win this fight. And if it ain't us, if it's not us that are going to win this fight, then I would like to, at this point, take the time to apologize to those who come after us. Because it's our fault, the tyranny that they live under from now on. And I don't care if you are a white American or Canadian, Australian, Brit, could care less. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're yellow. I don't care if you're red, or whatever other colors there might be. I could care less. What I would like brothers and sisters to do is quit fighting amongst themselves. Okay, we have a racial chaos going on, and that's a constructed racial chaos. I have met people from, I think, every race and culture pretty much, And when I'm dealing with the man or the woman or the young person, it doesn't matter what color they are. They are us, and we are them. We are simply people. The chaos is constructed, the racial strife is constructed to keep us confused and fighting amongst ourselves as these evil psychopaths arrange the game board for all of our eventual destruction. They're not after the white man, and they're not after the yellow man, and they're not after the red man. They're after humanity. Now we need to come together. You know, the leaders of the white people are just as evil as the leaders of the red people. The Indian nations, the native nations, are living under the same tyranny that we are. Their leaders are as corrupt as our leaders. And I don't care what color or background you are, it's the same all the time. Your leadership is the corruption. It's not the people. It's not the guy down on the street that's corrupt. Okay? They have families. They have the same situation everybody else has. They're trying to keep a roof over their head, food on their table, and get a better life for their children. And here they have us all mixed up in a bowl called multiculturalism, which is a contrived chaos mechanism. Stir it all up and watch the confusion reign while we have our way with the works of them. Now, I have met, I mean, an evil person is evil person. We're not born evil, okay? You know, a doctor doesn't hit a newborn kid on the ass, I don't care what color it is, and says, this is an evil little bugger, isn't it? That evil is created. It's instituted. It's brought up by this racial chaos that goes on from a young age. You put two little kids together, they don't see any color, they don't see any religion. What they see is a little friend. The powers that be drive that out of them, and they divide the people to create the chaos. So we got to get over that. You know, my father-in-law, we're in a little white town here, and my father-in-law, Korean family, took over one of our bigger variety stores here a few years back. And I knew the previous owners quite well. I did a lot of work for them. And, you know, my father-in-law, this is typical. You know, he says to me one time, he says, you know, Koreans took over the store. I go, and? Well, they're Koreans. And? Well, they're Koreans. What's your point? So this is circulating through town that these Koreans came into town and took over the store. Okay. And I asked him, I said, have you met them? Well, no. But you're making a judgment that when you say they're Koreans, you have this indication that there's something going on here. So have you met them? No. I said, well, why don't you go meet them? And if they're evil asses, then I'm good with it. Okay? So he went to the store, And I give him credit because a lot of the people his age would not go there. But he did go there. And I was talking to him a while later. I said, "Did you ever go to the store?" "Yeah, I did." "And did you meet this family?" "I did." "And?" "Well, they're the nicest damn people you ever want to meet." "Oh, I thought they were Koreans." "Well, yeah, but that's not really that important, is it?" "No, it's not." Now, having said that, okay, I got to be careful here. Having said that, the border, the southern border of the United States is a huge problem for American people. I get that. And it is a huge problem. Okay? But it's not the men or women crossing the border so much that are true. Now, I know there's people being that they're coerced over on the other side to come here and create chaos. I get that. Okay? But those are not your normal man or woman. These people are agents of something. Okay? And they are sent here to cause chaos. Okay? But for the most part, when people leave their countries, they are not what you would call agents of these people. A lot of the people who emigrate from their homelands do so just the same reason that our forefathers emigrated from their lands, is to get away from the tyranny that they were living under. Okay, they're looking for a better life for their families. Now, the people who have been coming here are helped to come here because their lands have been decimated or taken over, and it's all by the same people. The same people are telling you Earth's in peril. The same guy destroying these other nations, putting them in chaos to make all these immigrants to flood across the world in order to go to your country in order to cause a strifeful situation. But we got to look past that. Okay, we have to take the immigrants that come here and explain to them why they got here, what's behind why they got here, and why we need to join together in order to push the evil out of these lands, the same evil that pushed you out of your land over to this land. We need to push them clean off the freaking planet. Then you can go back to your country or you can stay here. Okay? But a society will only survive if there's basic understanding of what that society is. Okay? Now, Wilfrid Laurier, way back in 19 whatever. Now, he was an internationalist too, don't get me wrong. He was an agent of the crown, the queen. Don't get me wrong there. But he did make a statement that, we are open to immigration. Okay, we want the immigrants, but when you come here to be a Canadian, okay, or a member of this society, if you want. I don't know. It's getting a little weird what I'm saying here, but the fact is that when you come to someone else's home, say, okay, that's a better way to put it. If I invite you to my home, then you do not come to my home and then rearrange all the rules of my home to reflect the rules of your home. Okay, if you're going to come to my home, you assimilate to the rules of my home. Otherwise, we're going to have strife. Okay, so that was his basic message, because there's only room for one allegiance. You cannot be Canadian and something else. Okay, and that basic message is true, and that's where we've run into so much trouble here. Okay, is that this multiculturalism thing was not because immigrants wanted to come here. It was that they were sent here and they were encouraged to be separate from. Okay? And that's what's causing the problem with all of these different religions and these different races and that, okay, is the lack of assimilation. And that's done on purpose, absolutely done on purpose, to again cause chaos. Now, I read somewhere how many different languages are spoken in the United States. Now, in Canada here, we have Toronto is a classic example of multiculturalism gone wrong or right, depending on which side of the aisle you're on. When you come here, you assimilate. Okay, we have two spoken languages here, official languages, French and English. But those are being wiped off the map. They're almost becoming the language of or the language that's going out the door. I mean, we have every freaking, I forget how many languages they said are spoken in Toronto. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts. And we're always told that we need to bow down to these people's traditions and we have to accept their traditions, okay, which is exactly opposite of what Laurier said, okay? You cannot be and something else. And he's absolutely right, because you can't be beholden to two masters. I know that doesn't quite fit there, but it's basically the same thing. You're either another George Bush deal, eh? You're either with us or you're against us. Absolutely true. The people are either with the people or they're against each other. And if they're against each other, they will disintegrate into chaos. And that's where we find ourselves together, or today. That's where we find ourselves today. Now, you know, this almost sounds like a UN message of we are all one, which really makes me want to puke, actually. But the fact of the matter is, they have declared war on the people of this planet, not just the Americans and not just the Canadians and not just the white people. They have declared global war on humanity. Humanity is the enemy. So yes, we do need to join together to put down the enemy that threatens us. And we have every right to put down the enemy that threatens us. They make no bones about it. They blame you, the individual man, woman, child, for the state of the planet. There's nothing wrong with the planet. There's something mentally seriously wrong with the people that are feeding you this message. And they have declared war upon you. And they will get what they want, so they say, through consent or conquest. I say, bring it on. The sooner the better. Now, our job is to get our game on. Push them clean out of the, we want them to get so afraid that they don't even come to the game now. We just win by default. Because they said they will have it by consent or conquest. Well, we're not going to consent to it, so bring it on. Bring it on. You try and blow away 6 billion people off of this planet, see how it works out for you. It's not going to work. I don't give a damn how many bombs you own. You ain't going to win. You won't win. But if we just sit back and do nothing, and allow them to do what it is they say they want to do with us, then we deserve everything we get. If you look at it from a different angle, if you go back to the Bible, God cleansed the earth. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights, whatever. This is basically what the Vatican and these evil dogs, these Satanists, these agents of Satan. And I believe there's somewhere in the passages where Lucifer, Satan, whatever, says, I will destroy your creation. That's exactly what's going on. Now, they've put themselves in the place of playing God, them and the scientists, and they're going to cleanse the earth. Think about that. Think about that. We've got to get a game on. We've got to come to realization of what their plans are. They don't even make any bones about it. They're so out in the open now, it's craziness. So collectively, not a word I like to use, but we need to get our act together and get talking to our friends, our neighbors. I know it's still hard for a lot of them to grip this, but they're going to have to grip it. It's all around them. And that we are responsible for the outcome of this. And I find that, call it tough love if you will, I've used it before and I'll likely use it again, where somebody tells me they can't do something because of this or that, and I tell them to just go and spend a little time with their children or their grandchildren and sit there and look them in the eye and tell them, Grandma, Grandpa, Mom, Dad, know exactly what the plan is. But we have no spine, and our minds have become so soft and so weak that we can't stand up for you. Now, I've taken some heat over that, and I don't like to say it, and I don't say it easily to people. I say it when I have someone that's belly aching about something's wrong and somebody has to do something, and why won't somebody do something? And they say, you do it. Well, I can't do it. Well, sorry. If you can't do it, then who are you looking to do it? Somebody else? You looking for a hero to ride in on a white horse? Ain't gonna happen. You're the hero. You get up on your moral high horse. Now, I've taken some heat over that when I tell people that, about looking in their children's and their grandchildren's eyes and explaining to them just how weak they are because they can't bring themselves to do what is right. And every time I've done that so far to somebody, they got very hostile with me. And in the end, they usually get back to me. They said they're still angry with me for saying it. But after they think about it for a while, and they look at their child or their grandchild for a while, and they have that in their head, then their attitude seems to change. They understand that they do have a responsibility. And they're not supposed to sit around and wait for some hero to come in and save everybody. Oh, Ron Paul's going to save us. Right. Right, sure he is. They got this new guy, some guy, Ted Cruz, I think it is. I don't even know who this guy is. He's going to save us. Right, sure he is. Up here north, screw the liberals and screw the conservatives. Vote NDP. They're going to save us. No, they ain't. They all work from the same camp. Go look in the mirror. You're it. You're it. You are it. You're responsible. Each and every one of us is responsible. But we got to get the bodies together. I mean, if you can get 1 million people together down in America to go up to the White House or whatever for whatever's bothering anybody at that particular time, then you best be prepared to walk through those gates and take back what is rightfully yours. You know, we're working with the good side and the evil side. Pick a side. On the one hand, it says God created the earth, the heavens, and the waters, and the animals, and gave man dominion over it. Go forth and populate the world, or the earth. Everything you require, I have given you. On the other side, these men have decided we are God. And we have taken dominion of the earth. And we will decide what happens to you in your lives. One is freedom, one is slavery. Follow me or be as cattle, slaves, chattel. Take your pick, folks. Take your pick. If you want a better world, you're going to have to make a better world. If you're waiting for these clowns at the UN and your elected representatives to make you a better world, I hate to break it to you, you're on the wrong path. You're going down the wrong road. If you want a better world, you best go take it back. Take back dominion of what was given to you. Understand that the planet is not in peril. It is in peril, but not from anything that we've done to the planet. Okay? The propagandists have put into your mind the idea of a utopia. This is a false utopia. It is a false idea. It is a false plan. It is a plan of deception and destruction. And again, it is your call on this. It's your call. The outcome of what happens here in the next couple of decades is your call. If we lose, go look in the mirror, because that's the only one we got to blame. We need to take this opportunity to turn this around, to right the ship, to bury the evil and let the good come forward. And you will find that you have a planet without the wars, without the lawyers, without the bankers. And you will have a world of peace. You'll never get peace following the UN and them boys. They're not in the business of peace. They're in the business of terror and destruction, death. We can have a peaceful world. We can have a plentiful world. We can have a world where no one is hungry, but it will never happen with these guys in business. They create the famines. They create the depressions. They create the wars. And these are the people we are asked to go to the polls and vote for. Are we really that incredibly stupid in 2015? I hope the answer to that is no. I pray the answer to that is no. Anyways, maybe this is a bit of a rant on my side, but so be it. This Pope thing, I mean, this just all came, I mean, any researcher knew all this stuff long, long time ago. But to have this nonsense splattered on the front pages of the newspapers now is just brilliant as far as I'm concerned. They've just put their cards on the table. They don't have a winning hand. We just have to convince them it's time to fold that hand up and go away. Anyways, the 10 million. I want to thank the people in the chat here. I'm new on this station, and you got to bear with me while I get my head around this a little bit. I did a show, I do a show late Saturday night as well, and I am pleased to announce. So I should probably. I'm not going to announce that right now. I have a guest coming on. I have a great deal of respect for. Hopefully, we have him on next week. I have to get a hold of him tomorrow, and next Saturday night. My good friend and researcher Doug Shapiro will be on Revolution Radio Studio B under the banner Canada Live. I think it's still called that. And he's going to come in, and I'm sure he's going to have a whole lot of background on the Pope and his new scientific buddy and the history of it. So I invite everyone to tune into that. It'll be an eye opener for a lot. It'll be a regurgitation of stuff that maybe people have read in the past or researched in the past, and we read so much and research so much. It's always good to have a refresher every now and again, because we can forget some very pertinent things as we go through so much documentation. It's absolutely nuts. It's 156 according to this thing. But I just before I get out of here, I just want a couple of things. I don't know who tomato is, but Turd Crunts ain't going to save us, and the Million Marshmallow March, and that's exactly what I see, marshmallows. When I see these big protests, it really saddens me. I have a hard time even looking at the things. People get all jacked up about it. We're going here, we're going there, we're going to protest this. And I just have to shake my head, because these people are either following false leaders or they're completely ignorant and they have no knowledge about what's going on. So either way, it saddens me to see people waste their time this way. Because the people in power are really laughing at you, because they know you don't have a clue, because if you did have a clue, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. And that is safety for them. It makes them feel safe, actually. So again, no need for violence, folks. That's what they want. That's not what we're going to give them. The idea is to give them nothing they want. Nothing. Okay? This terrorism bill in Canada is the same as the terrorism bill everywhere else. It is simply a bill to protect the terrorists, okay, by shining the light on people who are not terrorists. This is true. I do believe there are a lot of paid protesters. I actually saw an article in the paper that the politicians actually hire people to come to their rallies and applaud them. That blows me away. They hire crowds, yeah. So anyways, I want to thank everybody that tuned into this thing, and hopefully next Sunday I have a guest on here. I don't do a lot of guests. I'm very particular about, I don't want to get in on this truther movement crap. I have no use for it. You won't see me asking Ted Cruz or Donald Trump or any of these people to come on my show ever, except maybe to apologize to you kind folks. Maybe that would be a reason to get them on, but other than that, no need. But I do hope that this guest did say that he would come on the show, so I'm looking forward to that. Anyways, till next, folks, thank you very much for listening, and please, if you can, next Saturday night, Revolution Radio Studio B, Doug Shapiro will be my guest, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Take care. Thank you, UCYTV, and Jules, and everybody else who has this station. Much appreciated. God bless you. Next Sunday. Take care. Bye-bye.